Welcome, dear friends. How are you all doing? Today we've brought you a super fantasy feel-good romantic movie that was released last year. They say that time passes, but love remains alive in every era. There have been many such movies where someone from one era steps out of their timeline and falls in love with someone from another. A person travels from the past to the present, or from the present to the past, and finds love. Friends, today's movie is also based on a similar time travel concept, but it is different from all the others. So, welcome to Love Across Time. At the beginning of the story, we meet our heroine, Chelsea, who works at a very famous bank in New York. Right now, she has come to England. Friends, her bank has rights over a very old palace in England, and they want to auction it. Chelsea has been sent to inspect the palace on behalf of the bank and determine what its value should be today. Based on her report, the bank will sell the palace to a client, that is, they will put it up for auction. A woman named Priscilla comes to pick her up. She runs a real estate agency, and through her, the bank has decided to sell the palace. Chelsea also has a boyfriend back in America who was supposed to come with her on this trip. But at the last moment, some issues arose between them, and Chelsea broke up with him. Priscilla explains that 250 years ago, this was a very prosperous place where members of the royal family once lived, but now the time has come to auction it. Soon, the caretaker of the palace arrives, the man who has been taking care of the palace and other properties linked to it. His name is Gabe. Priscilla tells him why Chelsea has come here and that she will be staying for a few days to inspect the palace. Based on her report, its price will be decided, and then it will be put up for auction. And friends, Gabe has been taking care of this place for many years, so they ask him why no one wants to buy this palace. He replies that while the palace looks beautiful, it hasn't been maintained properly for years. It is damaged in many areas. The roof is broken in several places, and no one wants to bear the huge expense of restoring it. That's why it has been abandoned for so long. On top of that, he adds, there's also a ghost in the basement. Maybe that's why nobody wants to risk buying it. In other words, everyone is scared. In this way, Gabe tells Chelsea all sorts of stories to spook her. Anyway, Chelsea settles into her room, which is quite nice. And then we learn that a few years ago, a wealthy man had actually bought the palace. But to maintain it, he took a loan from Chelsea's bank and renovated it according to modern times. But he passed away. After that, no one else bought it. That's why it ended up in the hands of the bank. The bank itself cannot maintain it, which is why they want to sell it at a good price. And that's the reason Chelsea has come here, friends. So Chelsea goes around and explores the entire palace, finally making her way down to the basement. When she doesn't hear any sound, she gets scared, thinking that maybe there really is a ghost here. Just then, her boyfriend calls to apologize, even though Chelsea had already broken up with him. Suddenly, the call cuts off and the phone switches off by itself, even though it was fully charged. Friends. Now Chelsea gets even more frightened. She picks up a pen with a large handle and moves forward, saying that if she sees anyone, she'll break his head. Ahead of her, she sees a mirror. It looks a little strange, as if clouds are floating across it. And then, a man appears on the other side of the mirror. Friends. Seeing him, Chelsea is shocked, and in the same way, the man is equally shocked to see her. He asks, "Who are you sitting in my room?" He speaks in very formal, old-fashioned language. Chelsea asks, "Who are you, and what are you doing in the basement, and why are you dressed like that?" The man thinks Chelsea is standing behind the mirror, so he looks around on both sides. Chelsea thinks the same thing, that maybe this man is standing on the other side of the mirror, but when she checks, no one is there. That's when both of them realize they are looking directly at each other through the mirror. He asks, "Are you the ghost from Aladdin's lamp? What are you doing inside this mirror?" Chelsea replies, "To me, you look like a ghost." He answers, "I am not a ghost. I am Charles Bagley IV." Chelsea is stunned. "Are you Prince Charles Bagley IV? Tell me, what year is it?" He tells her, "It is 1799. He finds Chelsea's clothing very strange and asks her which era she belongs to. She says that she is living in the year 2024. Hearing this, he is left speechless. Both of them cannot understand whether this is real, a dream, or just an illusion. They pinch themselves, and that's when they realize, friends, this is real. As soon as both of them place their hands on the mirror, they feel an electric shock. From the other side, Charles's mother calls out, asking Prince Charles to come immediately because dinner is being served. Charles says, "My mother is calling me. I must go. We'll meet again tomorrow." Saying this, he leaves. Chelsea also comes upstairs, completely confused. She cannot understand what just happened in the basement. How is it possible that she just spoke to a prince from 1799? She had only ever read about time travel in books and seen it in movies. Could this really happen? She cannot sleep that night. She keeps wondering whether it was a prank or something else. The next day, she again goes down to the basement and looks at the mirror. But what is this, friends? Now the mirror looks completely normal, reflecting only her face, exactly as it should. She even starts calling out Charles's name, asking where he is. But Charles does not appear. Then she goes to the outhouse near the palace where Gabe lives. He is busy playing his game. Chelsea asks him, "Have you really seen a ghost in the basement?" He replies, "I haven't seen it directly, but every full moon, some strange sounds definitely come from there. I have heard it myself." Not only that, friends, now let me tell you. This guy is very interested in reading about science fiction and time travel. So Chelsea takes a time travel book from him and goes back to the palace. The next day, Priscilla and Chelsea go to see the 5 properties around the palace that belong to it. On the way, Chelsea asks about the history of the palace and the kings. Priscilla explains that it was very prosperous during the reign of the last 3 kings. But later, the 4th prince, Charles Berkeley, took responsibility for it. He did not live long, never married, and died in a fire accident. After that came the 5th prince. But during his time, the decline of the kingdom and the palace began. Soon it was mortgaged to the bank, and now it belongs to the bank. The bank cannot maintain it, which is why they are trying to sell it. Whoever buys it will definitely demolish it and build another structure or hotel of their choice. And with that, the history of this palace will also be lost. Friends, Chelsea should have realized one thing here, that Charles IV never married. He died in a fire accident, and perhaps he was the one she saw in the mirror in the basement. After viewing the properties, Priscilla drops Chelsea back at the palace and leaves. Chelsea starts reading Gabe's time travel book. When she has some doubts, she directly calls the author of that book and asks whether time travel is really possible. She says, "I was in a place where my phone switched off automatically. In your book, it's written that this can happen because of the radiation of granite stone. Have you ever had such an experience?" In this way, she asks about the things written in the book in great detail, with a lot of interest. The author is pleased and tells her that research is still ongoing. "By the way, what I wrote was just my theory. According to me, it may also be the effect of the full moon that is happening right now. The interest you're taking in time travel makes me think maybe you've experienced a time slip. A time slip means seeing the future or the past while being in the present." Chelsea quickly denies it. No, I haven't had any such experience. I just read your book and wanted to clear my doubts with you." In this way, she diverts the topic, friends. That very night, she again goes to the basement, where she is once more able to see Charles through the mirror. It seems the time portal is still open. Both of them still cannot believe that they are seeing each other from different timelines and even talking to each other. Now Charles says, "After meeting you yesterday, I kept thinking the whole day whether this is real or not. I came and looked at this mirror many times, but it seemed normal. I think it only changes at night, and that's when I'm able to see you." So friends, Chelsea tells him about herself, that she is from America and has recently come to England. Charles is very curious to know about the future world. He wants to know what changes have happened in the last 250 years. Chelsea, however, is a little afraid to say too much. She feels that if she tells things about the future to someone from the past, maybe the flow of time will change, or if something from the future goes back into the past, it could alter the entire world. But there should not be any problem. For example, if there was a disease in the past for which many people died due to the lack of treatment, but now we have the cure for that disease. Then, if that medicine were taken to the past, it should not have any bad effect on the present world. Hearing all this, Charles laughs and says, "I don't understand what you're afraid of. If that medicine is given to the people of the past, then lives will be saved. That is a good thing. Well, if you're so afraid, then I promise I won't insist on taking anything from the future into the past. But apart from that, if there's anything else interesting, then tell me, like any technical or scientific changes, for example." Then Chelsea tells him, "In my timeline, people fly." Charles is shocked. "People fly?" Then Chelsea explains, "An airplane has been invented, and people can board it and travel from one place to another in a very short time. It takes only 6 hours to go from here to New York." Charles says, "Wow, for us it takes 3 months. And then Chelsea continues, "And listen, Charles, there is a vehicle here called a car, which has an engine." Charles replies, "We go by horse carriage. Well, in my time, it takes about a week to reach London." Chelsea says, "Oh my God, for us it takes just 4 hours. Then Chelsea shows him her phone and says, "Through this, we can talk to anyone. And not only talk, we can even see them, no matter which corner of the world they are in. But for some reason, this phone doesn't work in this basement. If you have this phone in your hand, it's like you have the whole world in your fist." Charles is stunned to see how much the world has changed and what new things have come into it. Then both of them keep talking like this, sharing many things from their respective timelines. After some time, Charles gets up, goes to the kitchen, and brings coffee and cookies. He offers a cookie to Chelsea through the mirror. Its taste is amazing, friends. But suddenly Chelsea starts having trouble breathing. Actually, the cookie had nuts in it, and Chelsea is allergic to nuts. Charles panics and, in a rush, comes into the present from his time through the mirror. He asks, "What happened to you?" Chelsea struggles to say, "There's a kitchen on that side where there will be a bag. Please bring it quickly." Charles runs and brings the bag. Chelsea takes out an allergy injection from it and injects herself. Slowly, her condition improves and she is able to breathe again. After that, both of them talk through the night, and Chelsea falls asleep there. Charles also dozes off, sitting right beside her. In the morning, they notice that the mirror has become normal. The portal is closed. Chelsea gets scared and asks, "Now, how will you go back to your timeline?" Charles replies, "I'll have to wait until night. I'll only be able to return when the portal opens again." Don't worry. By the way, I am feeling a little hungry. Please do something. So Chelsea sneaks him into the palace, making sure Gabe doesn't see. Charles is amazed to see how much the palace has changed in 250 years. In the kitchen, he helps Chelsea prepare breakfast. He asks about the new bathroom built here, saying it's very wonderful and the toilet is very interesting. By the way, he asks, where does the waste material go after flushing? And how does the water come inside automatically? In this way, friends, he asks many questions about the toilet. So Chelsea says, once it's flushed, that's it. Don't ask so many questions about it, friend. Otherwise, I won't be able to have breakfast. By the way, she adds, your mother must be looking for you. Charles replies, my father died a few years ago. After that, the responsibility of the kingdom fell on me, but I am not interested in those matters. Still, being a prince, I am forced to sit on the throne. That room with the mirror is my secret room. Only my mother knows that I go there. When I don't come out of the room, she doesn't disturb me and takes care of my duties, so there is nothing to worry about. Then Gabe sees Charles from outside. Seeing his strange clothing and appearance, he grows suspicious and wonders who he is. But Chelsea notices him watching Charles, and she quickly takes Charles inside. She tells him that this man is the caretaker of the palace in the present time. Chelsea goes out, and Gabe asks, who is that man inside? Tell me. Have you brought him here? Chelsea replies, which man? Who are you talking about? I haven't seen anyone. In this way, she avoids the matter and walks away. But Gabe's suspicion is not cleared, friends. He goes inside and looks around, but Charles hides from him. Then Chelsea returns and goes about her work. Priscilla calls to say that she has found a client to buy the palace. We'll sell the palace soon, she says. At first, Chelsea wanted nothing more than to sell the palace as quickly as possible, finish her work, and return home. But now, friends, she feels sad. If someone buys the palace, demolishes it, and builds something else, then she will never be able to meet Charles again. And before anything happens to this palace, she must send Charles safely back to his timeline. That night, the two of them again go to the basement and look, but the mirror appears completely normal. That means Charles cannot go back to his timeline even today. Charles feels really bad because he had to come into this timeline to save Chelsea's life, and now he is not able to return. Friends, she says, to save my life, because when she had an allergic reaction to nuts, Charles came out of the mirror. After that, he brought an injection from the kitchen, and only then was her life saved. But then Charles says, no problem. I'm actually having a lot of fun here. I'm enjoying this. If I lived there, I would have been alone. At least you are here. So Chelsea gives him a room to sleep in, and he sleeps there happily. The next day, Chelsea gives him a tracksuit to wear, because he has been wearing the same outfit for 2 days. He is surprised to see the elastic of the tracksuit, pulls it, and says that this is a great concept. Chelsea also brings him shoes. While he is changing his clothes on one side, Chelsea searches about Charles Buckley on her laptop. She finds out that he was killed in a fire accident on June 24, 1799. According to her research, Charles now has only about a month to live. After that, a farmhouse near the palace will catch fire in which Charles will die. Then Charles comes back after changing his clothes, so Chelsea quickly closes the laptop. He asks what that is. Chelsea tells him that it's similar to the phone she showed him. She does her work on it. Charles says that he feels like going out, that he wants to see the outside world, and asks if she will come too. Then Charles and Chelsea go for a walk in a forest near the palace. Chelsea asks, tell me one thing. What differences do you see between your timeline and this one? Charles says, I feel like I have come into a whole new world. Just 2 days ago, in my timeline, I passed through this same forest. At that time, there were only small plants and creepers here, but now there are such big trees. I'm really surprised to see this. Then Chelsea asks him about his family and learns many things about him. In the next scene, Chelsea asks Gab if he knows anything about Prince Charles Buckley, who lived here in 1799. She says she has heard that he was killed in a fire accident. Gab replies that he is not a history teacher, but there is a cemetery in the back, and maybe his grave is there. He tells her to go and check. Charles immediately goes and sees that his grave is indeed there, but there are no other details on it about how he died. That night, Chelsea is reading a book. Then Charles comes and tells her that he went to the basement again, but the mirror portal has still not opened. Now, friends, to get more information about this, she goes to meet the author of that time travel book. At first, Charles used to ask general questions about the timetable, but in the end, she finds out that the portal with the timetable will really open only during the full moon. Meanwhile, Priscilla comes with a client who is interested in buying this palace. Seeing them, Charles secretly comes out from the back door and collides with Gabe, and immediately he recognizes him and says, hey, you were in the kitchen with Charles that day, right? Then he said, there was no man inside. How did you come inside? And why did you sneak out like this? Tell me. So Charles tells him the truth. I sneaked out after seeing that woman and man, nothing else. So Gabe says, oh, so my guest was right. You are Chaz's boyfriend and she brought you here without telling her boss. And if her boss comes to know, then she will lose her job. That's why she is hiding you inside, right? Okay. Don't be afraid. I won't tell anyone. You stay in my room till those two leave. Saying this, he takes Charles to his outhouse. There, Charles is very surprised to see him playing games and says, what is all this? It looks like magic. Charles is also very hungry, so Gabe takes him out, and he is very happy to see the car for the first time. He gets excited. Then, he remembers Chelsea's words that it has a thing called an engine, and it does not require a horse to run it. Seeing his behavior, Gabe says, "Why are you looking at the car like you are seeing it for the first time? Are you from New York or somewhere else? Have you never seen a car there?" Then he takes Charles inside the city and goes to buy a burger for him. Charles starts staring at the cars coming and going. He goes to get a burger, and after eating it, Charles says, "What is the name of this thing, friend? It is very tasty, and moreover, you don't need to sit to eat it, and you don't even have to put it on the plate. It is very cool. You can eat it while walking as well. Very good." Gabe gets even more suspicious, friends, thinking from which era has he come. He is talking as if he does not know which era he belongs to. Meanwhile, Chelsea returns to the palace. Then the client says that one of his architects will come and inspect this palace. Only then will he be able to decide whether to buy it or not. After Priscilla and the client leave, Charles and Gab arrive. Chaz asks how Guy saw him. Charles tells her everything. Then Charles says, "I'm very scared, Chaz. I just want to take you safely back to your timeline. Your staying here could cause strange changes in this timeline, which might bring trouble for you and for the world. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. By the way, I spoke with an expert about time travel, and I found out that the portal will only open on the full moon. That means we'll have to wait another 25 days. Charles continues, "I overheard the conversation between the woman and the man who came to see the palace. They said they want to buy it as soon as possible, and after demolishing this palace, they plan to build another house here. Can't we stop this from happening?" Chaz replies, "I already told you why I came here. Once this palace is sold, the buyer can build anything he wants. We can't stop him. And I don't have the money to buy such a huge palace myself. Otherwise, I would have bought it and taken care of its maintenance." The next day, both friends go to the archaeological department and say that there is an ancient palace which is now in the possession of the bank, and they want to sell it to a private client. They ask if the government can take it under its control and preserve it as a heritage site. The staff there checks the history of the palace and says, "We have already prepared a list of ancient palaces and heritage sites. The palace you are talking about is only 250 years old. Such sites are rare in America, but there are sites much older than this in England. That's why we don't consider it a heritage site." Hearing this, Charles becomes very sad, because this palace represents the history of his family. It is his identity, and now it is on the verge of being destroyed. Chase consoles him, saying, "If I had that much money to buy it, I would have definitely bought this palace for you." Hearing this, he kisses her hand, as was customary in his time, and thanks her for thinking so much about him. "Thank you." Chase also finds this a little strange, but it seems that the closeness between them is growing. Then they go to a property related to the palace. Actually, this was the site of the fire accident in which Charles was said to have died. It is written there that a fire broke out in a certain year, and how Charles had perished in it. Here, Charles tells her the truth, that according to history, "Charles, you died in that fire accident on June 24th, 1799, at the age of 34. And according to your timeline, only a few days are left until your death." Charles gets confused at what she is saying, and to convince him, Chase takes him to his grave. There, his birth and death dates are written, stating that he died on June 24th, 1799. But on seeing it, Charles says, "It is only written in memory of. It means that my body was not kept here. Probably my hat or shoes or some of my favorite things must have been placed here as a memento." Now Charles gets confused again about what he is saying. Charles explains to her, "I did not die in that fire accident, probably because I don't know what was going on in my mind before coming to this timeline. I wanted to leave the palace, the kingdom, and the throne, and run away somewhere far. Even now, I don't want to go back to my timeline. I want to go somewhere else and live a peaceful life. I want to spend my life quietly, so I don't think I stayed there until that fire accident, nor did I die in it. Maybe my family thought I had died in that fire accident, and that's why they buried my things here and made this grave as my memorial." Now Charles thinks that this could also be possible, but still, he doesn't believe it completely. He thinks that Charles must have actually died in that fire accident, and because his body could not be found, his family buried his belongings in this grave. Charles says, "Whatever happens, now that I know a fire accident is going to happen here, I can go back to my timeline and save the people working here." But Charles does not want this to happen because he is afraid that if such a change occurs in the past, it could have a bad effect on the future. Charles says, "Don't worry, that accident will definitely happen today, and I will just save the people from burning to death. That way, nothing will change in history." Now the next day, Priscilla tells Chase that the client has agreed to buy this palace, but it will take some time to prepare the papers, etc. Charles starts praying that somehow the portal should open before that, so he can reach his timeline. Meanwhile, Charles goes roaming around different places. His gestures and behavior have begun to change like the people of this era. He asks Gub about time travel. Gub replies, "Chase also took a book about the timetable from me. By the way, why are you both so interested in the timetable?" "Well, whatever. Now, if I had the power to make a timetable, do you know what I would do? I would go far back into the past and deposit a small amount in the bank. After 200 years, the interest would have grown so much, And when I came back after time traveling to a timeline 200 years later, that amount would have become millions, even billions, and I would be the richest man in the world. Her idea seems quite silly to them, and Charles also does not take it seriously. He decides that he will be happy with Chelsea as long as he is here. They also start falling in love. One day, Charles calls her bank and talks to her boss and asks if there is any chance of saving this palace by handing it over to the government instead of selling it. Hearing her words, Charles's love for her increases even more, that Charles is trying so hard to save his palace. Meanwhile, there is no reply from the client who had come to buy the palace. Friends. A week passes. After 2 days, there is a full moon, and only then the basement portal will open, and Charles will be able to go back to his timeline. Both are happy and sad too. After that, they will not be able to meet. For the last time, both go to a restaurant. Then Chelsea tells about her boyfriend and her breakup. Charles says that his mother saw many girls for him, but nothing ever worked out. So Chelsea asks what he will do first after going back to his timeline. Charles says that he will meet his mother because she will be very sad after being separated from him for so many days. Then he will save people from the fire on that farm, but he says not to worry. He will not stop the fire. He will only save the people. The fire will still happen, but he tells her the truth, that he will miss her a lot. Charles becomes sad because Chelsea had fallen in love with him and she is unable to separate from him. So Charles asks what she will do after he leaves, and after this palace is sold. Will she go back to New York? Both love each other deeply and are also sad thinking about separation, but they do not say it openly. Both return home laughing and talking. Charles then says that he did not even realize how this 1 month passed and that the most beautiful moments of his life have been spent with her. He tells her that he will miss her a lot. Saying this, he holds Chelsea's hand and kisses it. Both are about to express their love, but Chelsea says goodnight and leaves. Cube sees all this, friends, and tells Charles that if he loves her, then he should give her a kiss on the lips, not just on the hand. Charles laughs and says to leave all that, he just needs his help. Actually, in these few days, Charles and Cube had become good friends. So Cube says that yes, he is ready to sacrifice his life for him. Just tell him what to do. The next day, friends, that client calls and asks for the papers of the palace, etc. Charles also goes to meet him. After leaving, Charles and Cube together prepare for a farewell dinner at home. When Chelsea returns, Charles has placed a gown on her bed. She comes down wearing it. Charles is in his 18th century dress, and both of them do a wonderful romantic dance. Then Charles says, please don't go. Stay here with me. Charles says that if it were up to him, he wouldn't want to go either. He wants to stay with her forever. But what should he do? He has responsibilities. He has to save his people from that fire. And Cube had told him some things, and he thinks he can save his palace too. It seems, friends, that Charles took Cube's words seriously, that by going to a bank in the past and depositing a small amount, it becomes a very big amount in the future. Charles has made a plan, but he does not tell Chelsea anything openly. Then, after that wonderful romantic dinner, both of them sleep. The next morning, Charles sees that today is the full moon day, which means the portal will open today. She feels very sad that Charles will leave her today. She goes out for work. Charles reads about an old bank there, which has been running since Charles's time, and is still there. He asks Cube, that day you said there is something called money, and if a small amount is deposited in the bank in the past, after 200 years, that amount will be very big. Tell me a bank which was there in the 18th century and is still here. Now Cube gets angry and asks him to tell the truth. Who is he? Ever since he came, he has been doing this timetable. Sometimes he gets surprised on seeing a car. Sometimes surprised on seeing a burger. What is he? He said he came from New York but has never played a game. Who is he really? Asking questions like this, he looks at Charles's face carefully and then asks in surprise, exactly. He saw the same face in a painting of the palace. What is his full name? Charles says that it is Charles Buckley IV. Cube asks, so are you the king of this palace? Charles says yes, he is the king here. Or rather, he was the king. So that's why he and Chelsea were asking so much about time travel. But how did he end up here? And then Charles tells him about the mirror in the basement where the time portal was open. He says he reached here through that time portal. I have to go back to my timeline and save my people and save this palace from being auctioned. For that, I found your idea of collecting money to be right. Please help me. He says, okay, I will definitely help. By the way, you will come back, right? Charles says, I cannot say that right now, but if I can save this palace, then I can come back. That night, Charles and Charles reach near that portal in the basement, and that portal is open. Before leaving, Charles expresses his love and both kiss. Charles gets very emotional. She asks, when will you come back? Charles says, I will try my best to come back. After bidding adieu to Charles, he goes inside the portal. The next day, Guab asks Ches, where is Charles? Ches sadly says he is gone. The next day too, the full moon is visible, so Chelsea goes to the basement again. The portal is still open, but Charles is not visible. Perhaps he never came to his mirror room. Ches is very sad. The next day, friends, the manager of a very old bank comes whose bank was started in the 18th century and is still running. He asks, are you Chelsea? Chelsea says yes. He gives Chelsea a letter and tells her that it was kept in the safe in our bank more than 200 years ago. We have been keeping it safe for almost 10 generations. At that time, King Charles Buckley IV had kept this letter in our bank and had written that it should be handed over to Ches, who lives in this palace in 2024. Now Chess opens that letter and reads it. So Charles would have written that, "My dear Chase, I have made this arrangement to save our palace from auction. After leaving you that day and coming to my timeline, I was sure that you would come to see me near the time portal the next day. But in my timeline, it took a whole week to take £1,000 and deposit it in this old Bank of New York. That is why I could not meet you the next day. I don't know whether I will come back or not, but I have deposited this £1,000 in your name, which will become a very big amount in your timeline. That amount will reach you, and with that amount you can meet our palace, buy the palace, and save it from this auction." The manager says that I cannot believe that 250 years ago a king left this letter in your name, and it is clearly written in it that you should get this letter on today's date. He had deposited £1,000 in our bank in 1799, and that too in your name. Today, its value is £246 million, and now that amount is yours. You just have to sign some papers, after which that amount will be given to you. Chelsea is completely shocked, friends. Now Chelsea buys the palace at a price higher than the client who was going to buy this palace. Priscilla does not understand how Chelsea got such a huge amount. Chelsea also laughs and says that I had an old boyfriend. He gave it to me. Do you know? Then with the help of Guy, she gets the palace renovated. After a month, the full moon comes again, and Chelsea once again waits for Charles near the time portal. Chelsea gets worried that something might have happened to Charles. Why didn't he come? Then she goes to her room to sleep, and suddenly she hears a sound from downstairs. Chelsea thinks that some thief must have entered. She panics and goes downstairs with a flower vase in her hand, and Charles is standing there. Friends, his hand is bandaged. After seeing him, Chelsea gets a new lease of life and asks, "What happened to your hand?" Charles says that I came here from my timeline through that mirror time portal, so my hand hit that mirror hard and it broke. She panics and asks that if that mirror broke, then how will you go back to your timeline? And then Charles tells that I never want to go to that timeline of mine. That's why I broke it intentionally. That's why my hand got hurt. But before coming back, I wanted to see my mother once, so I saw her. Now I am never going to go back. And I also saved my people from that fire accident. But my family will think that I was burnt to ashes in a fire accident, because they will never find my body, and they will bury some things in my grave, meaning there will be no change in history. Now we will be able to live comfortably here. Both friends are very happy and kiss, and £100 million are spent in buying this palace. The remaining 146 is with them, some of which they get novated, and some with themselves. After that, both will live a peaceful life in this palace. The story ends with this. Rest you tell me, friends, did you enjoy it? Take care of yourself. And finally, thanks for watching.